The MLB playoffs kicked off just as we expected. I got Nolan Demelfi. Nolan, what's up, man?
Yo, what's going on, Falco?
What are your initial thoughts? The series we've all been waiting for, the Yankees and the Rays, the AL East battle. They don't like each other. What are your initial thoughts?
As Yankee fans, you got to be, happy, going out of the, first two games 1-1. Most people didn't expect us to be up 2-0. But for me, it's more of a bittersweet feeling knowing that we could have left that series. Going into game 3, 2-0, I think it was very doable. I think the first game, we definitely outplayed them. And I think the second game, we were outplayed, but I think there was a lot there's other options and more things we could have done on a managing side that would have definitely evened things out and gave us a chance to win the game.
There's a couple things. In game 1, the Yankees clearly outplayed them. Garrett Cole looked like Garrett Cole. The Yankees hit. They got up. They took the lead 4-3. And then once the ninth inning came, that's where they broke it open. But my worry with this series is game 1 was a must. If they didn't win game 1, this series was a wrap. Because Garrett Cole is obviously their horse. That's their guy that they're going to lean on. Starting pitching is what I believe is going to really dictate winning in the playoffs and ultimately winning a championship. The totality of pitching, not just starting pitching, but your bullpen as well. Yeah, we know how good the Yankees back end of their bullpen is. With their starting pitchers, they have 2 caliber starting pitchers in their rotation right now. I don't think that's enough. That's why I don't see the Yankees winning this series. The Rays have 2 aces and a third guy in Charlie Morton, who has proved in the past to be a monster once postseason time comes. And yeah, I understand he struggled this year, but if you look at his 2019 season, he dominated the entire year. So I think pitching is just going to override the Yankees, and that's ultimately why I see the Rays winning the series.
Yeah, I know, definitely. But I feel like in a best of 5 series, we're in a good spot 1-1 right now. All we need to do is either win game 3 or game 4. And then if we win game 3 tonight, guaranteed that we get a game 5. If we get a game 5, then at least a game 5, then we got Garrett Cole on the mound. And you have to win the starts, that Garrett pitches, obviously. And, like Luke Voigt said, we pay Garrett Cole to pitch in October. We paid for him to pitch in the postseason. And the way I look at it is if we win one more game out of these next 2 games, game 3 or game 4, then we're guaranteed to get a game 5 of Garrett Cole, and that's what the Yankees got to go for.
But what do you think in terms of – because the Yankees' margin for error is so tiny given it's you got Garrett Cole, you got Tanaka, who he does take it up a notch once postseason time comes. And like you said, Garrett 5 is going to pitch in game 5. But what about game 4? I mean, I think game 2, Boone managed that game extremely poorly, only having Garcia go 1 inning being a 20 or 21-year-old, however old he is, and then J. Happ really let it open, ultimately why the Yankees lost. What do you go for game 4? I mean, it's so hard to just, bank on those 3 wins being Garrett Cole starting game 1, Tanaka start tonight, and then Garrett Cole starting game 5. It's just a small margin for error.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. But I think the way that game 2 is managed has not put us in a good position for game 4. Game 2, you threw Devi, right? So you threw him 1 inning. Meanwhile, you could have started him the whole entire game. And then if we got to a game, we could have won yesterday. But even if we didn't win, we had J.A. Happ could have pitched game 4. But now we're in a weird spot where we just used Happ and Happ got absolutely bombed, right? So you're not going to use Happ for the rest of the series. So at this point, what are you going to – you're going to go to Devi and he's going to be – he's not going to be not on short rest, but he's not going to be 100%. He's not going to be able to go 110 pitches. So that's why that situation I think wasn't handled correctly. I actually love the decision to pitch Devi in game 2 because I think matchup wise it made more sense. It's almost like you match up Tanaka with Morton instead of Tanaka in game 2, and it gives you a better chance to win. Tanaka on extra rest. But now the whole series is different. The whole outcome of the series is different. And then Aaron Boone even came out and said that the reason why he pulled Devi Garcia was based on his stuff in the first inning. But if you actually were watching the game, the first batter of the game, he had Happ up in the pen. So that's just absolutely BS. And if you actually looked at his stuff, his curveball was sharp. His curveball was his best pitch that first inning. His fastball, he didn't have that fastball command. But it was the first inning, and he's 21 years old. You can't expect him to go out there and be Justin Verlander his first playoff start. So He made one mistake. He made one mistake. He left the fastball up in the zone. He paid for it against a fastball hitter. So, at the end of the day, I think that Devi should have pitched more, and it's pretty obvious because you let it happen. He lets two home runs, 2-run home runs up, and I just don't want to see Hap anymore the rest of this series. Don't even want to see him next series, but this is the position that the Yankees are at right now. So.
Boone obviously had his mind made up that Garcia was throwing one inning, which I think is ridiculous. You can't say that Garcia didn't look good coming out of the gate or his stuff was off or he made a mistake. What's the whole notion with starting pitching what's the luxury that they have is you could find your rhythm. You could have a shaky first inning start and then settle into a groove. And Garcia, a 21-year-old, his first ever playoff game, would you expect him to come out and be lights out? I thought that was really poor managing. I don't think Jay Happ's a postseason pitcher whatsoever. He has a 91-mile-an-hour flat fastball. He heavily relies on it, and good teams and good hitters are going to kill him for that, which is exactly what happened. But moving after Tanaka's start and looking at Game 4, I think the Yankees' best opportunity is probably to go with the opener. Their bullpen is still loaded and rested. We know how deep they are. I would even think going Chad Green a couple innings and then ride it out from there. I don't know if I trust Montgomery to go out there and give you – what is he going to give you, 3-4 innings? Like, the Rays are not going down tough. I think that's your best opportunity, but I think the odds are stacked against them, and their back is basically against the wall, even though it's 1-1 right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, you can't trust Montgomery in this situation, and you can't pitch Hap anymore the rest of the series. Something I also want to talk about is, Hap's a fastball pitcher. He throws 80% of the time he throws fastballs. They're a fastball hitting team. It was just never going to work from the start. And then looking in Game 4, Chad Green's looked awesome so far this postseason. Even if you want to start Chad Green, what if you don't throw Chad Green tonight? What if, you just have that from the get-go that he's not going to throw and you actually start him, not even as an opener? But then you got to rely on guys out of the pen, guys like Ottavino who have been absolutely terrible this year. And Loaisiga and, there's a whole bunch of, other pitchers too, like Britton and Chapman that are going to have to – every pitcher's going to have to be on. Not one pitcher can get bombed because your margin of error obviously goes up. It's riskier.
In game 3 tonight and Game 4, I think the Yankees really got to make this a 7-inning game, and that's how they're going to win the game. They're 2 top guns at the back end. They're fully loaded. Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman. I think that's their best bet. If they're going to be behind early in that game and they're going to try to play catch-up, try to make a late-inning comeback against a Rays loaded bullpen, I don't think that's very realistic. I think their best bet is to get up early, stay up early, keep the game tied or take the lead within 7 games, and then you got to trust your 2 studs in the back end of your bullpen. Their bullpen's fully rested. Aroldis Chapman still hasn't pitched yet. Britton only threw 1 inning in Game 1, so I think that's going to be the X factor. But to wrap up today's show, what's your prediction moving forward? What do we expect to see?
I'm never going to bet against us, man. So Game 3, a couple guys that I would look out for. Going into the series, I said the X factor was going to be Giancarlo Stanton. And listen, I'm always right. Come on, look at me. But listen, they're not going to pitch him the same anymore. They'd be absolutely, ridiculous to actually give him anything to hit at this point. He was the only hitter that beat you yesterday. Okay, so what do you do going into this game? You make the other guys around him beat you. And Luke Voigt's been terrible so far this series. So the guys that are around Stanton need to step it up because Stanton's going to draw his walks. All right, that's what's going to happen for the rest of the series. Gio Urshela on deck. He's got to get it done. Voigt's got to get it done ahead of Stanton. So I'll look out for those 2 guys specifically. And also in this game, I'll look out for Brett Gardner being in left field and not Clint Frazier. Brett Gardner has amazing career stats against Charlie Morton. He's 8 for 22 with 3 home runs. He's a spark plug too. He doesn't go down easy. I expect him to get on base a lot tonight. And then definitely, Morton hasn't been that lights out pitcher that he was the first year with the Rays or, even, when he was in Houston. He's a 5-year Ray this year. And you're going against, a playoff Tanaka who actually pitched his worst playoff start, his last appearance. So I would not be surprised if he goes out there and absolutely chucks. So I think this is a must-win game, obviously, because if you lose game 3, then you're forced to win a game 4 with you don't even know who's going to be on the mound. But if you win this game 3, then you have 2 chances to win game 4 or game 5 with Garrett Cole. So either way, this is a must-win game tonight. I expect the bats to be rolling. They usually give Tanaka a lot of run support. So I'll give a nice solid score prediction right here. Yankees been putting up a lot of runs. I'm going to go with 8 runs for the Yankees tonight. I think Tanaka's going to chuck in only 3 runs for the Rays tonight. Tanaka lets up those 3 runs, but he gets through a solid 6 1/3, and then the bullpen comes in. So that's my prediction for today.
I'm taking the Rays to win this series, but the Yankees have to look at this game like it's an elimination game. If they lose tonight, the series is over. They might as well not show up for game 4. They have less than I'm going to go against probability. They have less than a 0% chance that they lose tonight, given how deep the Rays pitching is, and that the Yankees have no idea who they're starting for game 4. And you're just going to rely on Garrett Cole to have another lights out performance, which, yeah, he might. That's why the Yankees paid him in the offseason, but you can't always bank on that. We see this in football all the time. Defense wins championships. When it comes to baseball, pitching wins championships. Injuries, and especially in the starting rotation, has killed the Yankees. The Yankees you could look at them as the best team in the league when you have James Paxton and Luis Severino. Look at their rotation healthy. You got a top dog, obviously Garrett Cole. Then you got Tanaka, then Paxton, then Sevy. If you have that going to the postseason, it's going to be very tough to beat you. With the Rays ultimately having 2 aces, and you can arguably, when Charlie Morton is right, he's a 3rd ace. It's going to be tough to beat. That's why I just don't see the Rays. I don't see the Yankees winning this series. But ultimately, tonight, it's do or die. Because then you're guaranteed to get a game 5, and you got your dog on the mound. And that's what it's really going to come down to. But that's going to wrap up today's show. I'm Nolan. Thanks for tuning in.
Yankees in 5, baby. In 5.